Going back to the story, I talked about how the number one foundational virtue that you can have in your personal financial life is frugality. Now, frugality for me, when I first heard frugality, I thought of someone like Scrooge McDuck. I thought of someone like Ebenezer Scrooge. I thought of a penny pincher. I thought of a miser. I thought of someone who was consumed with the love of money. I also thought someone who would be too cheap to have fun with their money. Back when I was in school, I developed the spending behavior of someone who enjoys spending. Spending money is exciting. I'm also the financial nerd in my heart, which is an interesting combination of behavior. To be someone who nerds out about the numbers and the math behind personal finance, but also really enjoys spending. And I thought frugality was an attack on my ability to go out and have fun, my ability to go and spend freely. What I found as I've gotten older, and as I've talked to clients, as I've talked to family and friends, is that frugality means something more than that. Frugality, as I define it, as HopeFilled Financial Coaching defines it, is the intentional practice of prudent economy. Again, that's 4 words, the intentional practice of prudent economy. These 4 words, each can be broken down, reflected on, and then projected onto your situation. And you can ask yourself, am I being intentional? Am I practicing my intentionality? Am I practicing frugality? Am I doing so with prudence? Am I exercising wisdom with my financial decisions? And am I doing so with economy? Am I doing so in a way that is efficient, in a way that helps me maximize my happiness for every dollar that goes through my checking account? Am I economically maximizing the utility of the money that I'm spending on my needs, the things that I need to continue living in my day to day? Am I doing so efficiently? Now, in the next 3 podcasts, we're going to focus on each one of these words in the definition for frugality. Again, that's intentional practice of prudent economy. And today's main topic is going to be delving into the intentional part of frugality. Going back to the TV story, I wanted a very expensive TV. I thought it was going to be very exciting to go and spend that money on the TV and have the TV at a central focal point of hosting experiences. When we made a compromise, when my wife and I made a compromise where I would spend less than $2,000 and we would wait a certain amount of time at most before we had the money, saved the money, spent it on a TV. What we had done there is we made an intentional plan. More than that, we wrote it down in our notebooks from that retreat. We wrote down that we were going to pursue purchasing something that I valued. We discussed exactly when that was going to be. We wrote that down. We wrote down how much it would be. And we agreed to that. That was our compromise. We were both very happy with it. When we finally did buy the TV, I didn't feel any buyer's remorse in buying it. And even though my wife probably could still do perfectly without a television, she doesn't feel any sense of remorse, buyer's remorse, or we could have spent that money on something that she valued more than the television set. She knows, because we talked about our values and virtues on that engaged encounter, that it was something that mattered to me. And because we made an intentional plan, it was good enough for her to let us together pursue something that I valued. If she had something that she really wanted, and I wish I had a good example, but examples for things that my wife wants are farther and fewer between because she just doesn't like spending money. She likes to save money. I guess you could say the thing she values is saving money. If there was a time it was like, we really need to be saving for this, and I wanted to spend on something else, I need to be willing to compromise in order to support what she values, just like she's able to compromise and support what I value, and do so intentionally. Now, intentionality can be flimsy in the way that you define or treat intentionality. You could be out shopping. Let's say you're rolling through the grocery store and you find some very festive New Year's Eve party hats and like those little blower things and the poppers. You may not be throwing a big New Year's Eve party. You may even be going to someone else's party, but you see them there. You're like, oh, that would be fun for the new year. I'm going to buy those. Well, you very intentionally said, those would be fun. I want those. But you didn't, before going into the store, say, okay, I'm going to go buy some party stuff for the new year. I'm going to go and make sure that we have something festive and sparkly to celebrate 2023. So how early do you have to plan something for it to be classified as intentional as opposed to an impulse purchase? And this is something that is very important for us to define, because if we don't tack down what it is that defines intentionality, then we could rationalize any of our decisions, even those that are made spur of the moment on a whim, as having been intentional. We did them. We actively moved to making those purchases. So how do you break up purchasing things without advanced thought and purchasing items with intentionality? In my opinion, in my reflection, in what I have seen that leads people to hope-filled financial success, that separation is having written that desire, that intentional purchase down ahead of time, before pursuing it, before going out to the store, before you check the bank account, how much is in there? Am I going to be able to buy this? This is at the start of the month, writing your budget. In order to be intentional, you need to be writing a budget. Now, when my wife and I were dating, going back to that engaged encounter conversation, she was very frugal. She would have identified herself as being very frugal. She didn't spend money on anything if she could help it. Again, she's the natural saver in our relationship. But she wasn't writing down a budget every month when we first met. So how does that jive with the definition of intentionality, that you have to write down your plan in order to be intentional? Well, I think it matters because when she started writing a budget with me, she spent even less than she would have prior. It allowed her to, without any emotions or outside influence in the moment, influencing her logical, rational, frugal intentionality. She made that plan on paper on purpose ahead of time. This is important to realize, that you may desire to be frugal. You may desire to save instead of spend. You may be a natural saver. But exercising your intentionality by having a budget, if you're not doing it, can help you optimize your intentionality, can help you maximize that desire you have. And if you are the natural spender, like me, If you love to go out shopping, it makes you feel that you did something cool when you go and you fill up the car. It makes you feel, happy to pay for the dinner when you go out on that date and say, hey, I got this. Even if it wasn't something you were planning on doing in advance, having that monthly budget and that intentional plan of, this is what I'm going to spend my money on, can help rein in your spending so that you have some room in your budget to save better than you ever could have without the budget. That's what happened to me. That's what happened in our marriage when we combined our finances and we became intentional together. My wife was able to exercise and witness her desire to save be more of a reality instead of just a mode of day-to-day operation. And I was able to witness being able to go out and spend and do so with purpose and not feel bad about being the spender, but to embrace that being the natural spender was who I was, and that was okay. To have mutual permission in our marriage to go spend on something that needed purchasing. It was powerful and it was freeing. We never had a disagreement as the saver and the spender butting heads. One last thing I want to cover there is I said it gave purpose to the spending. Being intentional is also doing something with genuine purpose. Now, you could say buying the party hats on a whim in the previous example. Well, that had a purpose to it. Was the purpose genuinely thought out, and was it needed? Was it something that probably would have fallen to the wayside when you would consider, well, we're going to this party, maybe we should bring something to this party to share with our hosts. Maybe it's a good practice or the social expectation that we bring a bottle of champagne over to share and to toast to reign in the new year. Maybe you would have bought that instead of the party hats and the little sparkly poppers. Maybe that would have had a better purpose. Maybe that would have brought you more joy or more utility. This comes down to the concept of opportunity cost, one thing over another. The only way that you can know if something is going to have more purpose, more meaning, more value, or give you more joy than an alternative is if you give every dollar a mission at the start of the month in your budget. Now, that is the end of this first podcast. Today, we talked about values and virtues and the concept of frugality, the definition of frugality, and in particular, the intentional facet of frugality. On next week's episode, we are going to continue and we are going to talk about what it is to be putting good virtues, good frugality into practice. Until next week, budget bravely and enjoy your hope-filled financial future. Thank you.